Hello friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design, and it's time for us to get our Graphic 45 May folio made with Flower Market. And so I've pulled my 8x8 Flower Market papers and my 12x12 Flower Market papers, and we're going to go ahead and put this folio together. If you're new to this series, I'm doing one of these every month. It's a beautiful little folio, and you can find the previous months in my Make and Take Tuesday playlist. As we've discussed before, because this collection only has 2 patterns and then the patterns and solids, I have to reach into my stash to find papers that I think will work well. Some of these papers you may have in your stash. If you don't, I'm sure you have other papers that will work just as well. And I'll just give you a brief reminder of what I am looking for in the papers that I choose. I want contrast. Because these images tend to be very pastel, I want some bold colors to kind of make everything pop. And I want patterns that don't compete with these very, very busy patterns. I love the lilies in May. Very, very beautiful. So here's our May papers. And I went into my Graphic 45 stash and I found Let It Be. And look what a beautiful match these are for this paper. So I think we can add these in. I wanted to pick up on the red. I felt like, I mean, just look how everything pops against that red. So that's my contrasting color that I chose this time, is this red. So I've got this stripe from the patterns and solids and this honeycomb with red flowers and bees, which works actually. And then this all over honeycomb pattern. This is the back side of the border. And we might be able to use a few of these images with this, but this is very heavily sunflower themed. So I'm thinking we're probably just going to use the honeycomb. Then we've got another piece from the patterns and solids that works very, very well. Not so much the back side, but this side. Well, actually, this is from the 12x12. All right, then I thought I don't really have enough, so I kept looking, and I went into my stash and I found Kaisercraft Golden Grove, which has these beautiful golden shades, which work. So that's going to, and if you don't have this, like I said, just look for another paper collection. We're looking for hues. Like it can be a different theme. It just has to pick up, it just has to work with the color tone that is in this original papers. So I just kind of lay them up to the side. If you didn't want to go with the red, you could certainly go with the green, and that would also be beautiful and very fitting for spring. We won't use this side of our papers because they don't go with, see how these don't go? This has a white background. This has a very cream. But this side completely works. And here I've brought in a little bit of green. Then for our, let me move this stuff out of the way. For our cardstock base, I've got 8.5 by 11. This is kind of a saffron color or a curry color. It's very pretty with these papers. See, and it's bolder. It's a little deeper and bolder. And then I found this sort of brick red color that goes very well with the red. Now, if you wanted to go with the blue, you could, but I would recommend that you go with a much deeper shade of this blue in the same tone if you preferred the blue. I like the red. I think it's going to be pretty. All right, so before we get started, you're going to completely cut up one of your 8x8 cut apart pages and one of your 12x12 cut apart pages. And I've showed you in previous tutorials how I go in with my precision cutter and cut these, so I won't waste time doing that today. And I'll be right back and we'll put the cover together. All right, my friends, let's put this folio together. I have my two 8.5 by 11 pieces of curry cardstock, and I put my 1/4 inch score tape on the 8.5 inch edge of one. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to line it up using that inside edge of the score tape as a guide. And now I've joined these two pieces into one nice long piece of cardstock. I can bring my scoring tool in, and we're going to score on this long side at 4, and then we're going to come over to 4 3/8 and score. Then we're going to fold on that 4 3/8 inch line, and we're going to score at 8 1/2 and at 8 7/8. And if you don't have 8-inch score marks on your tool, do what I've done. I just go in between the 8 3/4 and the 9, and I make a mark with my stylus, and then I shift my paper and I score. All right, so now we fold on that 4-inch. We already folded on the 4 3/8. We come up and we fold these two lines, and here's the base of our folio. So we have 8 1/2 inch covers, 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. All right, now you need an 8 1/2, actually going to need two 8 1/2 by 8 1/4 inch pieces of cardstock. You want the 8 1/2 inch edge on your paper, and you're going to score it at 8, and then you're going to score 3/8 of an inch from that. So 7 3/4, 7 5/8, and then just shift your paper and score. And you're going to repeat this on the second piece. So there's 8 1/2. I'm going to score my half. And I'm going to 1 2 3/8 of an inch. It's easier if you do it. For me, it's easier if I do it over here in the 1-inch corner, but it was easier for you to see over here. Fold on your scored lines. Bring in your base. And these 1/2 inch flaps are going to go on the left and the right hand side of your center panel. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this flat because it's easier to work with. This is my 1/2 inch flap. I'm going to put a 1/4 inch of score tape on here. I'm going to bring in my base, my pockets on the bottom. I'm going to center this 1/2 inch flap. Top and bottom, and you see I have it butted right up against the edge. Then I'm just going to fold this flap over. So this becomes our left hand flap, and see how nicely that lines up. So repeat that over here on the right. Fold that flat. Put your score tape on the flap. Center it up, so you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch on the top and 1/8 of an inch on the bottom. Remove the liner, and then just push that flap over just like that. So there are your flap pages. The pocket goes on the inside. The flaps go over the pocket. Pretty neat, huh? For the pocket gussets, you need 2 pieces that are 1 1/4 by 3 7/8, and you're just going to score these at 1/4 of an inch. So I'll put it over here, it's easier for you to see. Okay, every 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you're straight. And then you're just going to accordion fold back and forth and back and forth. And this makes it that our pocket can expand a little bit more, but it doesn't take up any more space inside the folio. So now bring this in. Here's your pocket on the bottom. So here's your fold, your first score line. Don't go below that, all right? I'm going to put my adhesive down on each side. I'm going to line this up. I'm kind of using my fingers to make sure that I'm straight and lined up. Looks really good. Place the adhesive here in this little top flap. And then fold up. And you want to make sure that you're lined up and straight along the bottom. I'm trying to bring this in so you can see. It's hard because this is really long. Okay, so then just press that down. Now, if you want to, you can kind of pinch that bottom edge. I just kind of pushed that 3/8 inch score line in. But see, now we've got this pocket that will expand. Isn't that neat? So now we're going to work on the cover. Before we do that, I'll just show you. This is what I mean when I said I pinched that bottom pocket in. I just kind of pushed my finger in there and it just goes on its own. And then I just pushed it in. So you want an 8 3/8 square of cream cardstock. And then I have an 8 1/8 inch square of our brick cardstock. And I've laid this down. Then I cut 4 8 by 8 inch pieces of our patterned paper. And I'm just going to show you very quickly how to miter a corner. Put these 2 corners together so that they're perpendicular, and you cut from the inside edge to the outside edge. And then these will match up. Do you see that? So I kept my butterfly here because he's right side up. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to line up my 2 corners so that they're perpendicular. Then I'm going to cut from the inside to the outside. And now these two corners will match up. All right, so I'm going to stitch my panels together on my sewing machine. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive starting on the bottom in the center, and that way my sewing machine doesn't get gunked up. And then I'm going to line this up nice and straight. See how I'm even in the corners and I'm even along the bottom? I'm going to repeat it here, matching my corners up. Okay, I'm about to go stitch this up on my sewing machine, but I took our large lily image from the 12 by 12 and I double matted it on both this curry and this brick cardstock just to really make it pop. And I did the same thing with our little, this is the small May calendar. This is from the 8 by 8. And this is going to tuck under just like this, okay? So I'm actually going to stitch all of this on. Then look in your cut aparts from the 12 by 12, and I've got this border piece. I've just folded it in half, and I'm going to cut along that fold line. And I'm going to stitch this underneath. I'll put a little adhesive behind it first, but part of it is going to be here, and part of it is going to be here. Okay, do you see that? So that's the basics. I'm going to go stitch this up and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, let's finish up this cover. Up here in our top left hand corner, we've got our little humility saying, and I think I want to add foam tape on the left hand side, this outside edge, because it'll sit a little more level, I think. So just like that. And then right below it, our little May medallion that I have punched out from, I want that right there. No, let's do it right there. I used a scallop punch to punch that out from the 12 by 12. And then over here, I've matted the devotion from the 12 by 12. And again, I think I want to put a little piece of foam tape on this outside edge to level it out. So let's put this right here. And then we've got our chipboard piece, and I'm going to put foam tape on the top of that. And I'll show you, because this is a punch out, I put just this little piece of cardstock on the back because that will keep that center from falling out. So this is going to go just like this. Okay. All right. I brought him some sequins that I thought were a pretty good match.
One here and one here. Gonna see right here.
All right, I think that does it. All right, guys, let's go to work on this top flap page. I've cut a 12-inch by 8¼ inch piece of this honeybee and red flower paper. I scored it at 8¼ and folded to make the flap. Then I went into my stash of goodies and I found this cute hello oval that I had cut out of the Kaiser Craft Golden Grove collection. I'm going to glue that right here. Then I also found this sweet little doily. I don't know when I cut this out, and I'm not even sure what die I used to cut this out. I just found it in my Let It Be papers. So I was like, cool, gonna use it. And this is one of the die cut ephemera pieces. This is the lilies. I'm pretty sure this is the only die cut ephemera piece that we can use from this month. So I'm gonna glue this right here. And then I also cut one of these cute little tag pockets using the die. This was a paper rose collection that I had. It's B something. I'll make sure I list it in the supply list. I'll link it in the supply list. And it had, mostly this collection didn't go, but it did have this cute honeycomb that kind of fits in with this honeycomb over here. So that made it work. And then I just die cut the tag out of the red stripe from Let It Be. So that goes in there. And this little ephemera piece was in Golden Grove. So now we're going to turn the page. Turn our flap page. So when we flip the page, I fussy cut this or trimmed it out from the sentiment page of Let It Be. And I'm going to line this right up here. And then I die cut this little envelope. Whoops. out of the Golden Grove paper. And I'm going to put my adhesive on this part of the flap. I'm going to glue it down right here so that it's in between the two pages. Now what you've got is a little flip down element, and you can open it out and you can add a little photo or a little something in there. So that's kind of a fun little secret thing. And then to dress it up, I'm going to take the die cut number from the Let It Be die cut ephemera. I'm going to put it right here. And then I've got this little sticker, which is also from the Let It Be sticker sheet. This is going to go right here, number 5, because it's the month of May. We can take this little one that says Just Us and glue it right here. And this white lily can go. And these are from Golden Grove. So I'm sure you have something in your stash. I mean, all of us have so many of these ephemera bits that we never use. Isn't it fun to kind of pull them out and put them to good use? So that takes care of that. Then on the top, I've got the little die cut string thing that goes right there. Over here, let's put our red lilies, just like that. Then I die cut this little file folder. We're going to glue this down. Right here. And then what shall we put inside? Let's put our May calendar inside, like that. And this is using the Graphic 45 clock die that comes with, I think, the square tag, I think is what that comes with. I want to set this up so we have like a pull tab on it. So let's take this lily and glue I just put that one petal, glue on that one petal so that it's in that pocket, and you can pull it up. And let's put family right here. So I want to pull this blue into here. I've got this little border with our butterfly that we cut out, and I cut little V's on the end. We're going to put this down. Kind of spanning the distance between these two pages, and then so that little butterfly doesn't get lost, this is the center of one of the clocks that I die cut, and we're just going to slip it underneath the butterfly like this, and then we can just put our adhesive on our butterfly. So that finishes that page. Now we're going to do our right hand flap page, and I want you to cut an 11 by, I think I went 8-inch, let me just double check myself, yes, piece of your brick red, and score this at, I believe I went 7 3/4. Sorry, 7 1/4. So scored at 7 1/4. Then I took a piece of my red stripe. Our little flap here ends up being 3 3/4 inches. So I cut this to 3 1/2, and we're going to glue this red stripe down. And remember what we're doing, we're trying to tie together the colors and the patterns from the page above so that everything feels cohesive. And I'm actually gluing this, it's going to go down, the flap is going to be on the left. Okay. And I'm going to take one of my little die cut borders. I'm just going to glue it to the flap. Then I took a 4 1/2 by 3 3/4 inch piece of our bumblebee paper, and I scored 1/2 inch flaps on the sides and the bottom. We trim out the corners right where the scored lines intersect, and then if you fold on the flaps, you've got a perfect little pocket. And this is going to go right here. See how cute that is? Then to bring in our blue and also to tie in with the top page, I've got this cute little butterfly border that we trimmed out of the 8 by 8, and that's going to go right there on the pocket. On the inside, find this 4 inch. It was 8, but I want you to trim it to 7 3/4. This is left over from doing the mitered corners on the cover of the folio. We're going to glue this in here. And then I took a piece of this red stripe. This is 8 1/2 by 3 3/4. I scored right along the branding strip. And then I did 3/8 inch on each end. And we're going to trim out our corners like we did before. And fold this. Glue down our flaps. This is going to be a little side pocket. Oops. There we go. Just like that. And we can make our little 6 by 6 folio to go in here so that the back side, we won't have the problem placing the magnet like we did last time. So to build this folio, I cut 2 6 by 8 1/2 inch pieces of my curry card stock. And the first one, actually this is 8 1/4. The first one I scored at 6, and then I folded this little flap up. Then from the scraps, I cut 2 little gussets. These are just folded pieces of paper that fit just like we did on the big pocket. And the folded edge goes against the cut edge. So So this is a 5 3/4 inch wide piece of our red. And then we can come in with our gold. And then on the top, just a little photo mat page. So in the pocket, you can put photos, actual photos. So this is a 2 inch by 5 3/4 inch piece. So that finishes the inside. And then we're going to put this gold on the outside. Let's take this piece of the blue. I just tore it in half because it wasn't long enough to span. All right, so I've cut a couple of pieces of cardstock here. The curry color is 3 by 6, and the brick red is 2 3/4 by probably 5 3/4. Yep. And then I found the little corners that we cut out off of our pocket. I'm going to put these just like this. So we're going to glue humility up here at the top. Pocket. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive along the bottom of this, and I'm going to tuck it right here, and then I can tuck my clock in there, sort of like a pocket. I might add just a little bit of adhesive along the sides, but I didn't want to do a gusset because it makes it too bulky on the inside. But if we just do like that, and then we can tuck our little clock in there, and that's all right. Cute. So there's our tag. I finished it out with a couple more little punched circles, and this goes in here. I lined the back of this with a matching border, put a little 3x4 cream journal spot, glued just the sides and the bottom of Devotion down on the green, tucked in this little tag. Here's our little clock pocket over here. So that finishes this off. Now we can install it inside the folio on this right-hand flap page. So now we're going to set our magnets. And I want to get these two flap pages lined up. I'm going to come in right here with this one. And there's not going to be a pocket there this time, so we don't have to worry about that. I put my adhesive down. All right. So I've got this page straight. Press that down. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to glue this down. Remember last time we put the pocket on the inside and that created a problem with the magnet. We had to take it apart, which was kind of a pain. So this time we don't have to worry about that. Nice. Perfect, perfect. I've got this 7 by 8 inch scrap of our gold. It's kind of a damask. Just going to put this down. And then to fill in this little gap over here, I've got this 8 inch tall border piece. So pretty. Let's do it with this side. Now we're on this left-hand flap page, and I've glued down a piece of our text paper that is 7.5 by 8. And then I cut out this large lily image from the 12 by 12, leaving the blue border on the top, and I scored a 1/2 inch along that border, and we're just going to put some adhesive on that flap and fold it back. And center this up on our page. I love the colors in this, guys. I hope you do. I think they're so pretty. And then this goes up, and I've cut a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of our honeycomb paper that's going to go underneath as a photo mat. So you can put a photo up here, and you can put a photo down here. We can do a yellow butterfly here, or do we want blue? Let's see. It's kind of cute to have the blue and the blue, so let's do that. And I just put a little bit of adhesive on the body of the butterfly so that the page so you can slip your photo underneath. So that's real pretty. Okay. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do this page that's inside the left-hand flap. And I have cut a 7 1/4 by 4 1/2 inch piece of our gold damask. Oops. And then from what was left of my lily paper, I cut a, let's see what we have here, 8 1/2 by 4 3/4. This is this part of it that has these images. And I scored 1/2 inch flaps and trimmed the corners to make a pocket. So this is going to line up on the bottom of the page. There we go. Then I took my little 3x4 card and I took the journal part of it and I matted it on a, hold on, 5 1/8 by 3 5/8 inch piece of paper, and then scored like this. So I've got a little margin around there, scored 1/2 inch flaps. And this is going to go right here as a pocket on a pocket. And then inside we can put the other 3x4 card and we can put this beautiful bookmark in there. Then you should have one more narrow blue border that you can trim to go along the top, just to tie the blues together, which is always a nice thing to do. And then in here, we'll just probably put some simple, very simple photo mats, okay? Just like this. I might make another one just like that to go in there. All right, so here's how I finished this out. I had this little scrap of the lily paper that was not very big. It's like 6 1/8 by 4 3/8. So I just matted it on some of our brick red. Then I took scraps and just layered them up, and then matted this lily stamp and lined the inside. So that's the other folio to go in that pocket. So now the last thing we have to do is this inside pocket page. And I've lined it. I want to say this is 8 3/8 by 4 1/4 and 8 3/8 by 3 7/8 of the brick red. And then on the top, we're going to take an 8 1/4 by 4 of our honeycomb paper. And line the top. And then on the bottom, we've got our red stripe. This was a scrap, 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. It's a little bit short, but we're going to make it work. So I'm going to put this down near the bottom. And then I cut an 8 1/4 inch piece of the Beautiful border from the Let It Be paper. And that's going to go right here. See how good that looks? Then I was die cutting one of these little frames and it went awry. It did not die cut well. So I'm going to show you a little way to still use it so you don't completely lose it. I'm going to stagger it behind my matted lily image like this. And then I'm going to put my adhesive down. We're going to dress up our pocket. And I took some butterflies. It's so hard to make sure I'm in frame because this is so big. But I'll just stretch to reach. Sorry guys if you couldn't see that. Oops. Then to go in our pocket, I just had this little scrap of our sunflower paper, 4 1/2 by 10. I had this last little piece of the lily paper, 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, and I just matted it on some gold and put it on here. It's a little short on the inside, but I don't think anybody's going to really complain. That can go in there. There you go. That looks good. And then if you had a little word sticker or something you could put in there, that would be really cute. But that kind of finishes up. You can put photos in the pocket. I did put this border piece down here behind the butterfly. I don't think I made any other major changes. Let's see if our magnets are still catching, so that's really good. The only other thing I did was here, I added a magnet to the flap and I put a little journal card there and put a magnet behind it so that doesn't flop down. And I like that a lot better. But there we go, guys. That's our May Time to Flourish folio. We just have to put the cover on the front and there it is, all finished up. I really love the colors in this one, and it's neat to see how each of these months takes on its own personality. So lilies for May. And there is, just so you know, there's no Throwback Thursday this week. I'm hopping with Really Reasonable Ribbon. So that will not be, and this may actually even not get posted until Wednesday because it's Easter Monday and I am running behind. I hope y'all had a blessed and happy Easter. We sure did. It was a wonderful time with the family. And now, of course, I'm playing catch up after doing all the baking and everything. But I did get this done and I'll get it posted so you can get it made in time for May. Thanks for joining me, Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Go get your craft on.